Hi and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me. So a bit of a special one today because what I'm talking about is the latest release from the Atlantic 75 Analogue Productions series. I've got the bag in the thing the wrong way around, but here we are. This is the Yes album, and regular listeners to the channel will know that Yes and Genesis are, over the course of my life, without doubt, my two favourite bands. If we look about which one I kind of play more regularly now, so take the whole of my life, I think you probably have to put Yes even above Genesis. And I think I will be doing a kind of, my favourite Yes albums top 10 video probably pretty soon, actually, because it's sort of, I was prompted by my review of 90125, which was the first Yes album to come out on this series. But this is really where it's at for me. And you may have noticed on that recent record store day that there was a live recording from this era that was put out, which sounded pretty awful, to be honest, sonically, sound quality wise, but it was very special to hear. Anyway, this is another story altogether. It really is. But before I start, I want to present you my reference copy. Okay, so as I say, I've been into Yes for a long time. Well over 40 years, 45 years, maybe something like that. Now, this is my copy of the Yes album, and I think you can see various little things here. Atlantic Super, there's the sticker there with the K series Atlantic number on it. It's a gatefold, and kind of critically for these early Yes albums, you'll see here it's on what we call the Atlantic Red and Plum label. And this is a nice condition copy. It's a very nice condition copy. The matrix number is 24000101, and then we've got an A//1, various other little bits and bobs in there. But basically, this is a first press, a UK first press of this album. And I came across these when I was probably in my mid-20s. What followed this label was the green and orange label, and that's what I thought the Atlantic label was, and I was quite surprised to sort of see these earlier pressings. I think Fragile was the first record I heard on this label, and it sounded so much better than what I was used to. So I went out and hunted down, obviously, this, the first two Yes albums, Yes and Time in a Word. I think the first three, possibly four Zeppelin albums were on this label as well. Anything from this era that was on Atlantic, that's what an original pressing sounds looks like. Anyway, they sound a lot better than the later issues, and this has been my reference for a long time, and it is. I'm not gonna spoil me top 10 Yes, but this is definitely all of my top 10 Yes, I would say, comes from the 1970s, probably. I've just said all of them probably, but there we go. It's the real beginning of their absolute monumental, phenomenal, incomparably good period, in my opinion. Anyway, some amazing songs. Every track on the album is amazing. Adventure is probably the weakest song on probably. That's track 2, side 2 on here. But it's not bad by any means. It's just there's side 1, Yours Is No Disgrace, is an absolute gem, an absolute yes, top 10 phenomenal song. The Clap, it's quite a short little thing. It's an acoustic guitar solo by Steve Howe, recorded live here in the Lyceum Theatre in London. It's only a couple of minutes, but it's a phenomenal kind of like palate cleanser between Yours Is No Disgrace and Starship Trooper, which is just, you know, an amazing prog epic. Then you go on to side 2. We've got I've Seen All Good People, which is split into 2 parts. Your Move, which is kind of almost a cappella, and then All Good People's full-on rocking. Adventure, I mentioned earlier, and then Perpetual Change, back into a phenomenal prog epic. This is prog, you know, 100% phenomenal, top tier of prog, and a phenomenal album. If you don't know it, just have a listen to it. It's phenomenal. But, okay, now this is where the but comes in, because here we are. We've got back to the acoustic sounds, well, Analogue Productions, to be specific, Atlantic 75th anniversary issue. And as you can see, it's a similar cover. It's much heavier weight card. I mean, honestly, I think the, let's just compare this. It's kind of interesting. There's very little in it in terms of the sort of intensity and sharpness of the photography. Very, very little in it. And on the front, again, if we... very little. The original is slightly greener. Slightly more saturation. Not much in it though. The black's kind of slightly blacker on the new one, but it's, you know, it's a nice cover. It's very, very well done. And then of course we get these 2 180-gram QRP pressed records, and there we are. Side 1, Yours Is No Disgrace, just 1 track, 1 side. And on side 2, The Clap, which is just 3 minutes long here, and then Starship Trooper. So it's the same thing happens on the second disc. You get Your Move, All Good People, and Adventure, and then Perpetual Change. And these records are, you know, super flat, super quiet, and so I'm kind of holding off telling you about the sound for as long as I can, because I'm busting with excitement about this, to be perfectly honest. But I've made a few notes, and I just want to run through them, because I could make a very, you know, summarized short video here and just say this is utterly astonishing. It's mind-blowing. I played my original through, which I've played countless times. It is one of my more played Yes albums. I've played it, you know, maybe hundreds of times over the last 20, 30, 40 years. But I played it and I put this on, and it's like, wow, it's clearer. It's really clearer. It's more detailed. There's more separation. And I want to get into things, you know, I'll get into greater detail about this, but there's something about Bill Bruford's drumming that it's just sort of more captivating in a way, and it's you hear it on the first 2 albums. Actually, there's this sort of beautiful kind of slip-slidey kind of quality to the drums that's far more captivating than just a sort of a boomf, boomf, boomf kind of rock drum. Not to knock Alan White at all. But, you know, I've got friends who are into Yes, who vastly prefer the Bill Bruford era to the Alan White era. And I don't really kind of come into that camp. But listening to this, oh God, I don't know. It's you know, from right from beginning to end. You're just in awe of what Bruford's doing. Now you know, I suppose if you think of Yes, you think of John Anderson's vocals, and that's something I'll get onto on this as well. I've always loved John Anderson vocals. They're very, very, very individual. I kind of like the earlier sound more than the sort of the later sound where he's got it's a more husky kind of Lancastrian or Lancashire, whatever accent that he's got. The other sort of real kind of key thing I think about Yes is Chris Squire's bass, which is just, you know, incomparable really. It's phenomenal. And then, you know, Steve Howe's guitars are quite individual and quite something too, particularly his sort of steel guitars and the like. But anyway, to get into it slightly more, you know, the potted version of this, the quick version of this is amazing, and it absolutely blows away the original. Okay, now I'm going to try and explain to you sort of in greater detail why. Excuse me while I have a quick swig of coffee. So, playing the original, okay, going to Yours Is No Disgrace. I'm only going to just describe a very little bit of this original. You know, you've got a kind of a combination of Chris Squire's bass, amazing bass guitar. The recording of it isn't as, it's a little bit vaguer than some of the later sort of albums. And obviously you've got the drums. So you've got bass and drums central and John Anderson's vocal. And then there's kind of quite a fat organ bass. And that's sort of central as well. And then you've got, certainly at the start of the song, you've got Steve Howe's guitar in the left-hand channel, and you've got Tony Cowan organ in the right. But they kind of switch and swap and pan backwards and forwards, the organ and the guitar, as the song progresses. Chris Squire's sort of bass, which initially sounds a little bit vague, sort of gets a bit more focused as he does his sort of like, you know, very melodic kind of bass runs and things. I don't really know best way of describing that. But it's, you know, it's what we know, it's what we love. It's very, very, very proggy. But you put this on, okay? I'm going to put that one back down there out the sun. You put this one on. Now, immediately, there's more clarity. There's more clarity in Chris's bass in the centre, remember, which was a little bit vague, but it's not super heavy. It's not recorded in the same way and mixed and engineered in the same way as it is in some of the later albums. And you've got that big fat organ bass, which has got more gutsy weight to it. But, you know, later on in the song, as I said, Chris gets into some sort of his more little bass riffs almost, and they've definitely got more growl, more texture, and that kind of stuff. Thinking of the organ at the start when you've got the organ on the, I'm kind of looking at the speakers, so the organ's on the right, you know, flip this round for yourselves, and the guitar on the left. But it's both instruments are clearer, much clearer. And then you've got this sort of, as I say at the start, you've just got the sort of the bass with these little drum taps. And that's way, 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 way better. Far, far, far clearer. And then the vocals come in. And the thing is, you really get more, there's more texture, timbral accuracy, more detail, more accurate tonal colour throughout. But John's vocal, it's so kind of, well, you know, Lancashire-ish, you know. It's kind of husky and smoky and soft and creamy. But but the bass weight is better. It's more delineated. The guitars and the keyboards, all the layers of guitars, the layers of the keyboards, you know, and it's not just one on one side. Sometimes you'll have one keyboard layer on the left and another sort of track on the right, and same with the guitars. It's really, really, really impressive, and it sort of just draws you in and you know, captivates you. But the thing that really got me on this, more than all that, which is a lot, the thing that really got me was the drums. The drums sound amazing, and it is the leaping fidelity from this over the original is bloody massive. I think it's more than any other one of these Atlantic 75s I've heard yet. But the drums are just, you know, I'm trying not to use expletives here, but they are absolutely effing ace. And you realise it's sort of like it's the little sort of shuffly things, and then it's almost like when he doesn't hit the drum, it's those spaces between the drum beats that it's just, you know, you've got Bill Bruford, one of the world's greatest drummers, with Chris Squire, one of the world's greatest bass players. I think what you've also got in this band is you've got Tony Kaye, and there's organ bass there, and there's a more percussive kind of thing, I think, to Tony's organ than there is to Rick's kind of elaborate keyboards. And it is just the sense of pacing and timing and just utter captivating wonderfulness in this is just unbelievable. Then we get on to the clap, which, as I said, it's a small little track. It's only 3 minutes long. It's recorded live at the Lyceum Theatre in London. Now, even before the first guitar note is struck, there's a sort of the background ambience of the you know, I mean, it sounds almost like they're in a pub, to be honest, but the audience, the background sort of ambience, it just sounds more real and more 3D. And then you know, Steve gets into his guitar, and there is very, very clearly, there is more echo and more ambience, more hall feel, more feeling of the venue. And all the way through it, there's this sort of, you know, he's stamping his foot, sort of stamping out time. So there's a bass, you know, kind of like a bass stamp, and it's deeper in weight, and it's more uniform in sort of texture and colour, and it's you know, again, the whole thing, it takes on a scale and a realism that, even though the original sounds amazing, I mean, I've often put the clap on just to blow people's mind, you know, how good a hi-fi system can sound, but it's better. And there's another thing that sort of it became apparent there is on some systems, when you play the clap, because it's quite sparse and it's very dynamic, some systems can make it sound quite hard and harsh and forced. And you know, there's some systems and some sort of poorer later pressings and the like. And what you sort of notice here, and actually thinking back to Yours Is No Disgrace, forget my head next, is there's a sweetness and a smoothness and a sort of a honey kind of just delicious sort of almost smoky sweetness. It's just phenomenal. But there is a beautiful colour, but there is a complete lack of harshness throughout the entire record. I'll say that Perpetual Change, where you've got that you know, keyboard and guitars at the start sort of blatting out in both channels. They are, I mean, they're supposed to be, but they have a bite and a hardness. So don't think this is all a silky, smooth, sickly softness. It absolutely isn't. It really, really, really isn't. Anyway, then we get on to Starship Trooper. Again, a phenomenal song. You know, the bass has got way more detail and shape than on the original record. The vocals are lovely. They're not harsh like they can be on other pressings and sort of forced. They're sort of smooth and buttery. But again, what just absolutely captivated me was Bruford's drumming, the timing, sense of timing on this compared with the original. You know, playing it on the same phono stage, same turntable, same tone arm, same cartridge, different speed, that's all. But, you know, obviously this one is cut by Kevin Gray, who deserves an absolute, you know, medal for this. Pressed at QRP. And it is just phenomenal. But you know, I get back to Starship Trooper, the sort of, you know, I keep going on about Bruford and the drums. It isn't just that, but the way that Bruford and Squire particularly play together. I mean, you can, I'd say you can hear every single bass string pluck throughout the album, but also, like, you can hear the sustain of each bass note, and when he damps it down, it is just absolutely incredible. And then you've got the keyboards and guitars layering is just, you know, just like you've never heard it before. And, you know, like the rest of, you know, side 1 and 2, side 1 of the original album, it's just, it's more vivid by, I'd say half as much again. It's massive. This is not a subtle improvement. It's more solid without being in any way forced or forward or harsh. And the layering of the vocals, the layering of everything, it's just incredible. It really is incredible. And then towards the end of Starship Trooper, where you've got the guitar sort of, you know, switching from left to right, and you've got this massive fat bass. And on the original, again, I guess part of that is Ender side, but it just doesn't get mucky on this. It doesn't get confused. It doesn't get messy. It remains absolutely on the button. Absolutely on the button. And I think that's, you know, that's kind of the thing in a way about this. I think it perfectly exhibits what was so phenomenal about the band at this time. It's like you've got Bruford, Squire, and Kay. Frankly, I kind of think you could include in the rhythm sort of part of the band, and it's like they are so tight, but it's not metronomic. It breathes. It teases you. It's tantalising. It's absolutely phenomenal. Anyway, on to disc 2. So we have I've Seen All Good People. Now, the original of All Good People's kind of I mean, again, you know, this is a phenomenal sounding record, the original. So don't get me wrong, but again, on here, it's like you at the start you've got a guitar in the left channel, and you've got John's voice, sort of pretty much dead centre, maybe a very, very slight tad to the right, and then the backing vocals come in, and it sort of really, you know, comes into it like, you know, say almost an a cappella kind of chorus. But you've also got a shaker, sort of hard on the right. Now you can hear that shaker on the original, but it's very, very sort of dull and muted and soft, and the voices are a bit sort of cloud-like, they're a bit billowy. And when you put this on, what's quite surprising is how much panned over to the right the bulk of the music is. You've got that guitar very, very clearly on the left, John in the middle, but all the kind of the backing vocals are sort of almost sort of right and behind John, which sort of pulls it really over to one side, and it's kind of surprising when you go back to the original after listening to this, just to sort of, I mean, it's unlistenable, the original. It really is unlistenable in comparison. It's muffled and vague and soft, but this isn't hard. Okay, that's the thing. It's not hard. It's just solid, textured, detailed, dynamic. It's phenomenal. It really, really, really is. Again, the drums and the bass on this are just, you know, every song I've just made, you know, it's just drove me crazy how good they sound. But also on here you've got that. This is what I was meaning about the organ. It's you know, the stop-startness of the organ playing along here in the, you know, more in the second part, Awkward People. You've got it's kind of almost where the organ stops more than when it starts, in a way. That's what you kind of notice, because it's very percussive. It really is, and again, it joins in, and it's just it grabs your attention. It grabs you by the scruff of the neck, and it just hurls you along with it. It's absolutely, utterly amazing. Anyway, let me get on to Adventure, which is, you know, it's definitely not a terrible track by any means. What is it? 3 minutes just over is John Anderson composition, and it's, you know, it's got a beautiful vocal colour, very, very ambient sound to the keyboards, piano, and electric guitar. The piano's got way more natural timbre of a piano on this particular pressing of it. And again, the bass and the drums in particular are just, you absolutely, you know, tears to the eyes, you're left in awe. Just, my God. You know, I mean, I've heard this album so many times. And, I mean, I didn't need to go back to play the other album after this. I just did a couple of little spot checks, and I was shocked at how much better this is. I don't think I'll ever play that original again unless I'm doing a demo of showing how good this is. It really is. Anyway, just to sort of close up, we get on to Perpetual Change. Last piece, 8 minutes 50. That makes up the full final side, I think. Yep. And it's just, again, it's what stood out. As I said earlier on, you've got that sort of sort of thing going on, and it's coming at you. It's almost not from the centre. It's just like, you know, just keyboards and guitars from left and right, just absolutely dynamic and tight as a button. And then the bass sort of comes in the middle, and it's just so tuneful. And John's voice is phenomenal. And then you'll know the bit where it's sort of like you've got to call and response, and you've got John on one side, which is on the right. So as you're looking at, he's over here, and he's outside of the right hand speaker, and sort of, and there you are, and then you get the rest of the band sort of singing the response over there, and it's very much a left and right thing, but it's just the timbral kind of quality, the natural sound quality of that. And to think this is taken from the original Analogue tapes, and to think that there is that on those tapes, that's just, to my knowledge, never been extracted that well, anywhere near this well, for that matter, anywhere near. And, you know, you've just got to thank Kevin Gray there, because he's got them, and, you know, he must have spent some time setting up his tape recorder to get the azimuth right, and this right, and that right, and the EQ right. But he has got every last ounce of music off of that tape, and he's cut it with less loss than I've ever heard. And again, just to go on, towards the end of Perpetual Change, you may remember there's a bit where you've got the band playing. Hang on, I'll just put this down. You've got the band playing, and the whole kind of band sort of fades slightly and moves off to the left. So, you know, if you're looking at me and you're imagining you're listening, it's sort of like the whole band sort of moves off to the left, and then it starts up again on the right, but playing in a different sort of time, a different tune, is sort of thing. And then the third sort of just guitar, I think, sort of starts up in the middle, and it's almost kind of playing with both, even though you've got two bands playing different thing at once. And it's just, you just sat there and like just, whereas it gets a bit confusing, and it's, you know, it doesn't make it, in a way it's sort of more confusing because they're playing in different sort of times and different, but it's like you're just sat there with your jaw hanging open and just like, holy crap, this band is so on fire. And even right at the end, you've got the little choir like kind of right over the top of this phenomenal charging music, and it's so much clearer. It's just amazing. So, I mean, in a word, it's the best I've ever heard this music, and it's absolutely up there as in my favourite records of all time anyway. Definitely in the top, 10, 20, 30 albums, without a doubt. Absolutely phenomenal. I never heard it sound like it. And, in terms of how much better it is, there is no cause to go back and do an A-B demo like, by all means play your original, play this. You won't feel the need to go back and play your original. If you do try, you won't get all the way through it. You'll get a few minutes in and just thinking, I can't listen to this anymore. It maintains everything about the music, everything about Yes, everything that the original had, but it is so much better. And I mean it. I think if you were to give this 100% on sound quality, I'd have to say that this original is probably near a 60 or something. It's a massive 60, 75, 60, call it 66. This is half as much again, better. It's phenomenal. It really, really, really is. I mean, I can't, I've sat there now listening to this thinking, I know that they're not going to do Going for the One, which is a shame because I think originally that wasn't the best recording or pressing ever. So it's a bit bright and, not perfect. Close to the Edge will no doubt sound astonishing. I've got no idea what I'll make of having to, get up halfway through Close to the Edge. We shall see. But it's, I think this is just, it honestly has left me quite wiped out and blown away. It is absolutely, utterly phenomenal. Well done, Kevin Gray. Well done, Chad. Well done, everyone involved. And well done, Yes, back in the day. Okay? On that note, I'll say cheerio. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye then. Bye.